My presentation was on post-emotional society as it applies to consumer society, and it's basically an application of my theory in my book with the same title, Post-Emotional Society. And I look at the fact that even though we live in an era that talks a lot about freedom and choice and agency, especially when it comes to consumerism, that in fact there's a darker side to that, and there's what Thorsten Veblen about 100 years ago called fraud, or the more fancy word for that, chicanery. That when we go to a supermarket, we're told that the water we buy is really tap water, or things that are supposed to be 100% pure are not. The credit card agreements that we make, basically the credit card company calls it an agreement, but it can end it, terminate it, change it, modify it anytime it wishes, so it's not a real agreement. And I try to put that in theoretical context, namely, when you look at theories of moral judgment and development, such as Jean Piaget's book, The Moral Development of the Child, in the long run it seems, using a metaphor, that despite the rhetoric of freedom and choice and negotiation and those kinds of things that we want from the Enlightenment and the Enlightenment legacy, that in fact oftentimes consumers are treated as children with very few legal rights. They're up against corporations who have armies of lawyers. It's really kind of a David and Goliath situation. There is a lot of chicanery, a lot of between the lines, long contracts which are very difficult to understand and comprehend, a lot of complexity, so that in a lot of ways we are put into the situation of a child. And for Piaget, the situation of a child under age 12 is one of obedience, one of unequivocal respect for authority and fear. Even when it comes to things like living up to the Enlightenment ideals when it comes to protests, in a post-emotional society, which is one of manipulation and chicanery, you can protest so long as you stay literally in certain protest areas which are roped off, but if you step outside of those areas, your rights are taken away, you're arrested. So there are many such instances, illustrations of this, and this is what I seek to explore. So my overall thesis is, what I mean by post-emotional is that the spontaneous collective effervescence that goes with the natural rights, natural law, tradition derived from the Constitution has slowly been, to use George Ritz's term, McDonaldized, routinized, mechanized, and the spontaneous aspect, the aspect of real negotiation, real dialogue, is something that is in danger, and I think that that's an important aspect of consumer society to examine.